Morena tātou. Oh my gosh. Welcome councillors, welcome staff, welcome everybody in the public forum. Can I please ask Councillor Willison to begin with an opening karakia?
Morena tātou. Kia inoi tātou e tātou e kahara o tēnei rā mātou te kukuitai. Tonu kia koe, me tēnoi kia koe tēnei haora kia tukuna mai o Chati Manamatanga Whakora ki mi te ki runga no Ngāti Rane Mau. Tēnā rātou katoa toi maha, ta turā ki o mātou rāna karanga maha. Ta turā ki o mātou, kaunihero o karanga e pā inoi tēnā rā kia koe ki kutoki. Uwhi mai te kuru o Chati Manamatanga Whakora ki mi a mātou mai ono ki mātou Chati Manaki, tō Ōtorohanga o tēnei hui. Te runga no te rangi Māori, te aroha. Morere pākoranga I koe tukuna nei tēnei haori, tēnei waira mana ki mata tamuhi maraita tāke, ake.
Thank you, Councillor. Now on to your words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Worship. Words of wisdom for the day. Te hara taku toa I te toa takitahi, engari taku toa he toa takitini. Success is not achieved by the individual, but by the collective.
Kia ora. Right, we have no apologies this morning, but we do have Councillor Tamaki that's joining online due to not being able to be with us today. Move on to the public forum. Charlie, floor is all yours. Just come to the table and push the right button on the microphone. Thank you.
Right, Your Worship. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for your time today. My name's Charlie Telfer. Born and raised in QQ and lived in the district most of my life. Wear a few hats around town, but today I'm speaking on behalf of the Ōtorohanga Carriers Association for part of the long-term plan where we've had input to. Obviously excited about the rest of the plan and lots of other pieces in there today. So good luck for your discussions after this. Onto our comments today. There's a handout here with a few photos that support it. We asked the council to consider the continued parking of trucks on Hui Patea Drive. Who are we? Our association was formed around 1972 when local carriers and council got together to shift the original truck wash from its location behind the railway to its current location, which is now known as Hui Patea Drive. The photo on page 2 shows the location of those two washes during the construction of the stop banks in around the early 1960s. The first chairman was the late Dennis Dow, and another founding member was the late James Barker, who was also the first inductee into the New Zealand Transport Hall of Fame and is the man who the current Ōtorohanga Playground is named after. The truck wash was constructed in 1972 and is still a facility that the community can be proud of. Our current membership employs around 335 people directly. We also have actively engaged with the local community over the years with the facilitation of the truck driver licensing program, Riding a Truck Day, and more recently the Truck and Ute Festival, just to name a few. We see the need for truck parking. Trucks need to be parked so drivers can have a break so they are not fatigued and are safe on our roads. Trucks sometimes must leave their trailers parked where they make deliveries and the truck with their truck to local farmers and businesses. Not all trucks can travel along Maniapoto Street as the bridge at the north end of town here has a weight limit on it. So the access through Ōtorohanga is along Hui Patea Drive. Truck parking on Hui Patea Drive was one of the key actions that came from the current Ōtorohanga Town Concept Plan. The solution, just before the railway underpass on the left heading south on Hui Patea Drive is an area that trucks could have parked on previously. Now there have been concrete blocks put in the area, which makes parking trucks more difficult. This results in the driver having to go right into the metal area to turn around, which churns up the area and, as we understand, is dragging metal into the local stormwater drains. If the concrete blocks were moved and the steel railing along the side of the road shortened, the trucks could just enter and exit without completely turning around. There would not be the need, there would not be the churning up of the metal that is currently taking place, and maintenance of the area would not be as costly and metal not dragged into the stormwater systems. We think this solution would accommodate trucks to park safely at the north end of the car park and cars to park at the southern end of the car park. and there would still be protection for people using the car park as overflow for the playground. In closing, we think that shifting the blocks and adjusting the metal railings and a load of metal and a grader, the area could be transformed into a safe truck and car park.
Thanks, Charlie. Yeah, good presentation and certainly something for us to talk about later on in the day. Obviously, we've made no decisions today, and any councillors, any questions of Charlie? No, I think he's done a good job getting all the information here in front of us. So thank you very much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
Cheers. Now, there's no late items in today's agenda. Is there any agenda items that councillors feel or should declare a conflict of interest? No, moving on, confirmation of minutes of the 21st of May 2024. Do we have a mover and a seconder? They be received, please. Moved Councillor Johnson, second Councillor Willison. All in favour? Any matters arising from those minutes? Thank you. The receipt of the minutes of the Community Board 4th of June 2024 and Kapia Community Board 6th of June. That is being received. I'll move that they be received. Do we have a seconder? Seconded, Councillor Christensen. All in favour? It's carried. Thank you. My verbal report to last month outside of business. On May the 22nd, following the last council meeting, we had a meeting with the Trust Waikato CE and trustees. They visited the council chambers. We thought it was just going to be a couple of them. There was a whole contingent from Trust Waikato turned up, which was really good. And they spent the day or the afternoon here talking to community groups about how they could be of assistance to them. We also met with the CEO of Waipa Networks. And then I had a young gentleman who wanted a skid pad installed in town. So we had a good catch up on that, and I've told him to go away and do his research and come back with a plan for me, which we can discuss later on. So I'll be interested to see where that comes to. Zone 2 meeting at Don Rollins Centre on the 24th. On the 25th, on the Saturday, we had Hui at the museum where the Ormsby whānau were presenting a tonga from Whawhakia iwi to present to the museum. We had the Kapia Aotea Ōtorohanga concept plan hearings on the 27th, the rural concept plan hearings on the 28th in conjunction with draft LTP and wellbeing strategy hearings. I went to Wellington with Tanya and Councillors Tamaki and Willison to speak to our submission on Māori wards on the 4th of this month. Civil Defence emergency meeting, or big workshop in here with the three councils, ourselves, Waipa and Ōtorohanga on the 5th, where I had to declare a state of civil defence emergency, and they worked all morning on how they're going to deal with this earthquake which happened on Old Tikawiti Road. Had a call group meeting, Mayor's Task Force for Jobs on the 7th down in Wellington. At the 8th was the 100-year celebration of the train station, which was really well taken on board by the community. We had Brad Olson visit here on the 11th. And then later on in the day, we had a Local Government New Zealand Zoom on sovereign citizens, the impact on councils and elected members. And I must say I hold our own community in high regard that we don't get the same sort of treatment and harassment that so many other councils around New Zealand get. It's really quite revolting what's going on. We talk about, you know, Mayor of Hamilton City where people are in a property, in a garage at home. Councils are being abused all around the place. It's really a nightmare out there for a lot of councils. So yeah, again, big heads up to the Ōtorohanga community for respecting us and the work that we're doing. We had risk and assurance meeting on the 12th. I was up in Auckland for the RCSA Industry Awards on the 13th for Mayor's Task Force for Jobs and for our community hub. We had a Thrive morning catch up on the 21st, and then yesterday we had our Chief Executive KPI meeting to set her KPIs for the next year. Any matters from what I've talked about? So I'd like to move that my report be received. seconded councillor Jeffries. All in favour? Carried. Thank you. Moving on to our decision reports, item 141, adoption of the Ōtorohanga District Economic Wellbeing Strategy. Nadia, over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship, councillors. So the economic wellbeing strategy development began in late 2023, and after a series of community and elected member workshops, as well as a public consultation, hearings and deliberation process, it is now before you for adoption. I'll take the report as read, drawing your attention to the recommendations from the hearings panel in item 5.5, just turn that down, which have already been incorporated into the revised document within the agenda. Additional minor amendments suggested by councillor Jeffries, and thank you for those, are printed on the tabled document in front of you. Looks like that there. These corrections, if approved by you, will be incorporated into the strategy post its adoption. And as such, I suggest we add additional wording into the recommended resolution C to say, adopt the Ōtorohanga District Economic Wellbeing Strategy 2024, subject to the tabled amendments and any other minor editorial changes. If there are no questions of the report, I'm happy that we turn to the recommendations. You may just want a little moment to read through some of the amendments that are before you. You can see that a number of the recommendations in there are actually in relation to Te Waka closing. That had obviously, that news had come out post our consultation.
Everyone happy? Nadia, thank you. Before we move to staff recommendations, thank you for the hard work that's gone into this. Again, it's a really good document, very easy to read. Yeah, really impressed with what's been done and the work that's gone by this. And I'm sure there's a heap of it. So we have the staff recommendations here, A through D. And on part C was to adopt the Ōtorohanga District Economic Wellbeing Strategy with the following amendments, which are listed on that following page. Do we have a mover and a second? Moved Councillor Prendergast, seconded Councillor Hughes. All in favour? Against? Carried.
Right,
Thanks, Nadia.
thank you, Your Worship, councillors.
Moving on to item 142, adoption of the Kawhia, Aotea, Ōparau and Ōtorohanga Rural Concept Plans. Welcome, Ross. And that's all on page 98.
Thank you, Your Worship, Morena, councillors. Just a quick recap. I'll take the report as read, but I think it's appropriate that we remind ourselves that we started this journey the best part of 18 months ago. So we've followed a comprehensive process of analysis, assessment, and engagement, and it's been a team effort, and that's a team effort with both elected members and staff. And I'd just like to make a particular acknowledgement of Becca for the work that they've done, and Sam Foster from Becca may well be online at the moment. So subject to Council's adoption today, we, and by we I mean our partners, our stakeholders, our communities and Council, will have a comprehensive set of blueprints to guide future conversations, future planning, future development, and of course project delivery. So we can acknowledge and celebrate this milestone but I'd suggest these concept plans give us a starting point. So our next step is to develop a prioritised program of actions, drawing on all three concept plans and matching that with the available resourcing, which hopefully will be finalised when you adopt your LTP later in today's meeting. So we'll work with the community boards and for the rural concept plan with our rural ward councillors on developing this program, perhaps with the aim of bringing it to council in the next 3 months for approval. So keep the momentum that we've established through this project going through into implementation. Just note, Your Worship, that there are some final minor editorial changes, and thank you, Councillor Kit Jeffries, for sending some of those through. So we'll make those changes, and there is a provision in the recommendations to allow for that. So happy to leave it there and take any questions that members may have.
Cool, thank you, Ross. Yeah, and if Sam is not online, if you can pass on our appreciation of the work that Becca has done to get us to the stage as well. And you're right, it is 18 months, and certainly in my time on council, it was the most comprehensive engagement we've done with our community, and certainly outside of the town centre itself. So yeah, really good that, you know, I won't say finally, but people of Kapia, Aotea and the rural communities have had an opportunity to have a part to play in what the future development of our district is. So yeah, as you said, it's a starting point now. We've got to this stage, and now the hard work really begins. So thank you for your work, and thank you for the team's work behind this as well. It's very, very much appreciated. Any questions, councillors? As there are no questions, we have staff recommendation that the Ōtorohanga District Council, rather than read it out, let's go parts A through C be adopted. Sorry, Councillor Jeffries.
So thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I just wanted to ask Ross, those suggested amendments that I sent through, will they form part of the plan, the new plan?
Yes, so
Yeah.
subject to His Worship putting the recommendations and those being passed.
Yes.
These, and we have a number of other minor typos and things that we'll make as corrections. So the final version will reflect the things that you've shared with us. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, which that covers quite well in part B there. It adopts Ōtorohanga District Ōtorohanga Rural Concept Plan and with the other ones as well, subject to any final changes. So it's all covered in that. Look, I'd like to move that recommendation be passed. Second, Councillor Dow, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Ross. Item 143, adoption of the 2024 to 34 long-term plan. Nadia. Welcome, Anne. It's over to you, Nadia.
Thank you, Your Worship. So as not to bombard you with too much paperwork at the beginning of the meeting, we've just circulated some documents particular to this item. Right, so here we are. Firstly, I'd like to acknowledge His Worship the Mayor, councillors and our community board members, staff and community for bringing us to this moment. You can see we have additional staff in the room and there are more watching online demonstrating their investment and interest in today's proceedings. So we'll crack on. On the 26th of March, and following high-level engagement with our community and over 18 elected member workshops, Council adopted for consultation, the Kia Mau Tātou Ki Te Ara Steady As She Goes Long-Term Plan 2434 consultation document and supporting documents. Council received a total of 31 submissions, with 12 of those speaking to their submissions during hearings on the 28th of May. That was followed by deliberations on 30 May as part of the same agenda and meeting. The outcome of those deliberations are captured in a series of recommendations to Council from that hearings panel and are outlined in Appendix 1. Following the incorporation of those recommendations, the final LTP and supporting documents were sent to audit. The outcome of the final audit was a series of further refinements and amendments, which are tabled today and were being made as early as this morning, and we will talk you through those shortly. Additional to what's in front of you, the most updated version was emailed to you about 10 minutes before the meeting, but that's the entirety of it. We will go through step by step the amendments which we have tabled. It is worth noting at this point that on the 6th of June and following our consultation period and the hearings and deliberations, Waka Kotahi informed us that our funding request was reduced by 3.28 million. And further, that some aspects of our program funding wouldn't be confirmed until August later this year. While we had signalled that this was a possibility through our consultation documents and engagements, and what we would do in such a situation, the late notification of this funding decision and the further delays involved has meant that we had no opportunity to adjust our budgets and still meet the 30 June 24 LTP statutory adoption deadline, which is what we're aiming for. That is a very disappointing result and has ended up with us receiving a qualified audit opinion, tainting what has been a long, hard road to a near perfect process, given the political and economic climate. Many councils will not be able to adopt at the end of June. Others have not been able to accommodate audit and have undertaken their LTP consultation without audit opinion, and that's putting them at greater risk when it comes to their final LTP adoption part of their process. To add to this frustration and disappointment is the auditor's resistance to explicitly acknowledge that their qualified opinion is not a reflection on the quality and integrity of council's planning and budgeting processes, but is in fact due to the failing of central government's own processes and timing. Due to this, staff have crafted additional paragraphs from you following the Mayor and Councillors forward, which are captured in the table documents and amendments. The CE and His Worship may wish to add something.
Yeah, thanks, Nadia. Probably just to add to a bit what you're mentioning about having a qualified audit opinion. I share your frustrations and concerns as an elected member and as the Mayor of Ōtorohanga District, that the rhetoric coming from the auditors was pointing the finger directly at the council's inability to adopt a long-term plan without it being qualified is, I think it's inexcusable. The finger should be pointing clearly at Waka Kotahi and the government themselves to put us in this compromised position when we've done everything. When I say we, primarily the staff have done everything they can to get ourselves across the line, which, as you mentioned, a lot of councils haven't been able to do. So hopefully the auditors are listening and understand that what they're saying, I believe, is incorrect and misdirected, that someone's got to take responsibility, and the Office of Auditor General has also got to be prepared to listen to us for a change, as opposed to just having their authority over what they believe is correct. Tanya, would you like to add?
Thank you, Your Worship. Kia ora koutou. Tēnā koe, Nadia. Me toku rōpū, hoa mahi, te tautoko ki tēnei mahi. Yeah, big ups to you. I think it's all been said about the audit opinion, so I don't want to dwell on that. What I want to dwell on is what a fantastic place we've got to today. I've spent a bit of time in Wellington at my last Tuara meetings last week, and you know, we're one of the few that are going to get to this point, you know, in the country, and I'm enormously proud of the team. And when I say team, I mean the wider team, including our community, for, you know, where we're at with this. So yeah, just want to acknowledge that, and it's quite a special moment. So yeah. Kia ora.
Kia ora, thanks, Tanya. I was going to get back to the compliments part.
And I thought, yeah.
As us councillors sitting around the table, but it's the community boards as well. To all of the staff and the community, and Nadia, the first big responsibility that you have had in terms of leading this long-term plan process, and I think you've done an admirable job. And as Tanya mentioned, for us to get to where we are today, where a lot of councils have been and for all the work that you've done, the contribution to us is huge. I mean, the presentation of all of our plans, the easy read of what's been in front of us, and months and months and months of commitment. So thank you very much. We really appreciate your work with us. Councillors, over to you.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yes, for who was involved in the process. So Nadia, thank you. And just being a little bit cynical, looking ahead for 18 months, we start it all again, don't we?
Further councillors? Councillor Williams.
Have we got some sound issues? Just to endorse the positive around the table, and the collective effort of it, acknowledging the communities, a lot of workshops, and respecting those people who choose to come and help us do that, and the value that they add.
Now, Nadia, do you want to read through this?
Yes, so look, adopting the long-term plan is a significant moment, and it needs to be done carefully. Hello, that one, yes. So as I've mentioned before, we do have tabled documents additional to the agenda that we need to make sure we give you time to consider as we go through this. And I think the best way to tackle this is to take our time and work through the resolutions in order, and when necessary, draw your attention to specific pages within the various documents. So we can kick off into that. I assume there's no other questions or comments of the report itself.
Chris, in your hands.
Just on the back of your acknowledgement, I would just like to add the hard work of staff, in particular in the last week, really with Anne and Brendan, and the toing and froing with auditors has been heavy. And for that reason, I will hand most of this part over to Anne, who has done the hard mahi. Brendan, unfortunately, is unwell, but is here online. Thank you, Brendan, for coming in and for not getting sick before today.
It keeps on turning on and off, so kia ora koutou. So with your lead, thank you Nadia. Can I just make a comment at the beginning, which is I really thoroughly endorse your comments with regard to thinking about the community and council and the community boards in terms of their involvement in the plan. Because from my point of view, if you can see yourself in the plan, then we have done the job. And it's really heartening to have had the comments with regard to that, because that makes me feel that was the ownership of it. So thank you. All right, so starting at the beginning, first thing is that we need to basically receive the submissions, the 2024 long-term plan consultation document and supporting information. So effectively, that's your that's the deliberations that the hearings panel went through, and you've had a revised document circulated, which summarises your responses to the submission. Oh, sorry, am I the wrong one there?
While you're looking for that, so recommendation A is approving the recommendations from the 24-34 long-term plan hearings panel as set out in Appendix 1 to the report. And I suggest, Your Worship, that we move and second each item as we go through, so that we go through it systematically and there's no confusion if there's issues with one particular area.
Thank you, Nadia. You want me to call it?
Yeah,
Cool.
so I
Okay,
think
thank you.
if we move
Okay,
A
so we've got-
first,
So, adopt first one pursuant to section 108. So
if we start off with A, approving. the
start with A, okay. First off, I'll start off with A, which is a good starting point, everyone. Which is A, approve the recommendations of the 24-34 long-term plan hearings panel as set out in Appendix 1 to this report. Move for a second, I move Councillor Prendergast, second Councillor Johnson. In favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. B, receive and confirm the amended summary submission report, Appendix 2. Move that, second Councillor Dow, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. C, adopt. Do you want to talk to these?
Yep, so if I read them out and let me know if there's anything actually highlighting them. So, C1, pursuant of section 108 of the Local Government Act 2002, the Ōtorohanga District Council policy on the remission and postponement of rates on Māori freehold land 2024. Nothing to add from that side. C2, pursuant of section 109 of the Local Government Act 2002, the Ōtorohanga District Council policy on the rates remission policy 2024.
So you moving that, Councillor Hughes? Move Councillor Hughes, second Councillor Williams, all in favour? It's carried. Thank you.
C3, pursuant to section 14 and 101B of the Local Government Act of 2002, the Ōtorohanga District Council Water Supply Asset Management Plan 2024.
Thank you. Move Councillor Johnson, second Councillor Dow, all in favour? Against? Carried.
C4, pursuant to sections 14 and 101B of the Local Government Act 2002, the Ōtorohanga District Council Drainage, Wastewater and Stormwater Asset Management Plan 2024.
I'll move that, second Councillor Prendergast, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you.
C5, pursuant to section 14 and 101B of the Local Government Act 2002, the Ōtorohanga District Land Transport Activity Management Plan 2020.
Councillor Jeffries, Councillor Hughes, thank you.
Pursuant to section 76AA of the Local Government Act 2002, the Ōtorohanga District Council Significance and Engagement Policy 2024.
Move Councillor Christensen, second Councillor Jeffries, all in favour? Yes, carried. Thank you.
Pursuant to section 83 and 150 of the Local Government Act 2002, the Ōtorohanga District Fees and Charges for 24-25.
Thank you. Move Councillor Jeffrey, second Councillor Willison, all in favour? Against, carried.
And it's in this section here that will draw your attention to the table document. Would you like to talk to the person before we read the resolution then?
Yes, so obviously since we've gone out with the agenda, there've been a number of changes as a consequence of events associated with our discussions with audit, but also obviously the LTNZ funding. So the table document, basically what we've done is capture all the changes that we've been making to the documents since that time. But I particularly wanted to draw your attention to where we have made changes. First of all, with regard to things related to the LTNZ funding. Obviously, I had the opportunity to see the comments in the front part of the document on qualified audit report, and also expressing our disappointment in terms of the questioning of our processes, because obviously we had taken these things into account when we produced our consultation document. So that's set out, just so it's really highlighted, on the third page of those table documents, under the heading Word to Our Readers. Pause there. So to explain to our readers in different parts of the long-term plan.
Just wait for a moment, Anne. We'll just, whether we just give everyone a couple of minutes just to read through those. Question, Councillor?
Thanks, Your Worship. Yes, I just wanted to say that in that very first box, the orange one or whatever colour it is. Yes, I think that's very well worded, and it certainly points the finger quite clearly at Waka Kotahi. And it's also reinforcing the stance of the Risk and Assurance Committee, who were quite adamant, if you like, through our chair, that the responsibility of this particular aspect of our plan was no fault of council's. So I just wanted to reinforce that point.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Thanks
Yep.
for bringing that to everybody's attention. So, you can carry on, Anne.
Okay, so the next section that I want to sort of direct you to is on page 68 of our plan. Remember, in the documents, our statements of service performance we went out with, and also in our consultation document, we were very clear about the difficulty that we were faced with the fact of putting in for particular funding, but not necessarily knowing whether we were going to get an answer in time for this plan. And we set out in that box exactly what we would do should it be less than what we had anticipated. So on page 68, we have reworded that box, and to highlight to people basically how we're going to be dealing with this, which is, as we said in our consultation document, that we will continue on our program for this year, but we will be coming back to them again in, through our annual plan to address the, any shortfalls in terms of funding, to get their direction on what needs to be done, because we know how important the roads are for this district and how it is linked so much to local wellbeing. So, yes, so the wording in that document has been updated. And of course, always as you look at these things, when you see the red on green, my apologies for that being a bit difficult for to read. Similarly, we've had to make some changes to our infrastructure strategy. So that's in volume 2 of your long-term plan. And on page 51, you'll see that we have set out a very similar story in the infrastructure strategy to not only explain what has happened, the lateness in which we've received the advice, and also pointing out the what our response to it is, and also pointing out some of the risks as a consequence of not receiving all the funding that we had hoped to receive through the process. So that's on the following page of your table documents. And also it points back to resilient infrastructure and that text box that we have there, just setting up the process. And that's all I wanted to say about that component of our changes. Unless anybody's got any comments on that part.
Councillors. Shows we're talking about last minute work, isn't it? You know, 11th hour, 12th hour. No questions from councillors, so go to point 8, Nadia.
So one other part that audit have commented on through our documents is they have asked us to make some changes to our accounting policies, and also to include a statement with regard to the effect of balanced budget. So you'll see that I have included in your document the wording that has been, the notes that have been changed to the accounting policies, and also on page 151 of the document, under the heading of balanced budget, we've put in a statement there which is about the impact of not having a balanced budget. So just letting you know that those notes are there. And Brendan is online, should there be any questions in relation to those parts of the document.
Thank you. Comfortable?
As per the document, reluctantly accepting.
Thank you. Nadia.
Okay, so C8 pursuant to section 76. AA, double O, 83, 93, 93A, 100, 101, 100A, 101A, 101B, 102, 103, 108, 109, 111, and Schedule 10 of the Local Government Act 2002, and subject to minor editorial changes, and the tabled documents before you. the Ōtorohanga District Council 2024-2034 long-term plan, including but not limited to the funding impact statement, financial strategy, infrastructure strategy, and revenue and financing policy.
Do we need to add that bit in about the table into the resolution?
Yes. I
Worded
voted that to
higher.
higher. Yeah.
Thank you. I'll move that. Second, councillor Hughes, favour. Carried.
And then the last one, D, approve the chief executive to respond to all submitters to the draft long-term plan 2024-2034 on the basis of the documentation adopted in resolutions C1 through 8 above and the submission summary report.
Thank you. Moves councillor Prendergast, second councillor Johnson, all in favour? Yes, carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nadia. Thank you, Anne, and thank you, Tanya. Right, moving on to 144. You're speaking to this, Graham? And Brendan's just watching on from the sideline. Welcome. Page 255, councillors.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship, councillors. So just in order, once we have adopted a long-term plan, we're now required to adopt a rates resolution, which sets our rates for the 24-25 year. So the rates and charges that are in this resolution come from the long-term plan, from our funding impact statement. We do a significant check and audit on these charges. So we basically do effectively a dummy strike as at 1 July to ensure that we're getting enough revenue as per our annual plan budgets, that we've got decimal points and everything in the right place. If you get it wrong, the repercussions are huge. You've got to have enabling legislation to correct it. So we spend a huge amount of time making sure that
So Graham, on that, just for total clarification, so Brendan sets this, and you peer review it, and you peer review it, and you peer review it, and you make sure that you're not one space out, because, okay.
Yeah. So what we basically do is that we it's like a threefold check. So we check what's in the funding impact statement to the rates resolution, but then we also we do a dummy strike. So we enter this into our computer system. The strike is based as at 1 July on the values and factors that we are holding as at 1 July, and so we run it as though we're actually going to strike the rates. And so generally it'll never work out exact, but you generally get more revenue than what you budgeted, because when you've done your long-term plan, your values keep increasing for the rest of the year. So yeah, we've done that. So yeah, so I won't read the resolution, but between Brendan and I, take any questions.
You questions, councillors?
You go.
Oh, sorry, no, I just, thank you, Graham and Brendan, for the work you've done on that, and I did ask earlier whether that dummy strike had been undertaken, which Graham assured me it has. So no, so I'm happy when the moment comes, Your Worship, to move the resolution. Yeah.
Thank you, councillor. Councillor Christensen.
I was just wondering, in the resolution, like it's got like the point blah blah cents, but nowhere does it actually state what our rate percentage rise is across the district. You know, that average, like it doesn't, like, so.
It's good for you. So why, I suppose, is the question.
Yeah, why? Thank you very much.
Yeah, I guess it's just a legislative requirement, you know, this is just a resolution to set our rates, and I guess we've covered the percentage increases in the actual long-term plan itself.
Yeah, I suppose as I actually asked the same question of Tanya. Did I? She wasn't listening, but so, was exactly that. Is there a space to put that in there? Just if somebody would, I mean, like I go through there, I see, 0.000090, and to a layman, as much as they can go to the LTP and see what the rates increase is, if you're actually looking at this agenda and that, I don't know, is that unusual or not? Looks like Tanya wants to.
Yeah,
talk to that.
through you, worship, no, so this is a standard report for the purpose of setting the rates, but yeah, of course, there's provision to put what you're asking in there, and we could put it in the recommendations if you want. We could say that Ōtorohanga District Council, like, whatever the word is, notes, I guess, because you've already adopted the LTP in the previous, that the rates increase for, overall rates increase for the district for 2024-25 is 10.38%, with the following, community rates, and put the little table in there of the three. Would that suffice?
Yeah, I think that'd be good. Thank you.
Be a great addition.
So we can add that.
Sorry, Graham, back to you. Any further questions, councillors? Before we pass this resolution, again, I seem to be thanking everybody a lot today, but there's good reason to. So thank you. And Brendan, thanks for the work that's gone on here, because when we started this, it was pretty ugly. And we've got to a place now which we can be pretty proud as a community to set these rates where they are and still deliver on a lot of the programs we want to actually deliver over the next year and the next 10 years. So without actually talking through the resolution, the staff recommendation, we have a mover, and that was Councillor Jeffries, and that was seconded by Councillor Williams. All in favour? Against? With that, yeah, sorry, with the noted addition to the resolution. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Richard.
Thanks, Graham.
Just while I've got the microphone, I'd like to
Sing a song.
As Brendan's immediate manager, I just also would like to I guess acknowledge the work that he's put into this long-term plan as well. And we put a huge reliance on Brendan, and as Nadia said earlier, thank God he got sick today, not a couple of days ago when we're going back and forward with audit. But it's like I've almost completely stepped back from this LTP and just only got involved with a few policies, and Brendan's borne the brunt of it, and it always comes back to the numbers. I've always said that, and he's had to pull out a few miracles, right for the last 18 months. So yeah, thanks, Brendan.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Graham. Okay, moving on to item 145, Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy Reserves Management Plan, approval of draft for consultation. Welcome, Ross.
Tēnā koutou,
Sandra,
Your
sorry.
worship, councillors and staff.
So, thank you, worship. For those that don't know Sandra Cave has been the backbone of this project. It's her report. She's going to speak to it. But what I'll say is I'll just make a few comments at the end. And the reason I'm here is if there are some questions that maybe a bit curly or detailed around process and things like that, then I can help answer those. And if I get something in my ribs from Sandra about a particular question or issue, then I can jump in as well.
Thanks, Ross. Over to you, Sandra.
Thank you, worship. I'd like to take the report as read, but I would like to highlight a few key points. The scope of the draft plan covers just those parks and reserves in the Ōtorohanga town area. Both the Kapia, Aotea, Oparo and rural concept plans have projects focused on undertaking a stock-taken review of reserves in those areas. The draft plan presented to you today reflects detailed analysis and assessment along with an extensive input from our mana whenua partners, local clubs and community groups and the wider community. In that regard, I'd like to acknowledge Resilio for the great work they've done, and we have Charlotte and Gary online today. This draft plan brings together a strategy to guide the future development of the town's parks and reserves, and that's non-statutory, and a management plan as required by the Reserves Act. While all reserve areas are covered in the plan, particular focus is given to Huifutia, Island Reserve and the Domain. Concept plans have been prepared for these areas to indicate what their future development might look like. In the case of Island Reserve and the Domain, 2 development options have been presented for each. The draft plan provides for the staged development of key reserves, allowing for dependencies and funding availability. We're at the point where we now need council's approval to seek public feedback as required by the Reserves Act. This is a 2-month consultation period starting Thursday. All submissions received, along with anyone wishing to be heard, will be considered by a panel comprising council and community board members and mana whenua representatives. That meeting will be in September. I'm happy to take any questions now. Ross's assistance.
Thank you, Sandra. Questions, councillors?
Hi. Thanks. I'd like to kind of thank the community and everyone in this project. Obviously, we had lots of meetings and things like that. And yeah, and the plans, parts of it are very good. Parts of it I don't think they're quite future-proofed enough. But I'd just like to, if we can somehow add to the consultation process. I've had some new information that is the community is going to be gifted a piece of land, basically a clear piece of land that we could build a whole new sports hub on. And I think for the, like to somehow put that in the consultation for the people to, because I believe whilst you were making this draft, you wouldn't have, the land wasn't available. So you're just basically doing what we can with the land available. I think the land available is not quite big enough. For the future, I'm thinking 50 years out, not, no, hopefully I'll be dead, but it'll be happening still. But yeah, so I don't know how we bring that into some sort of resolution. The words have been public.
Tanya or Ross, we were saying.
Through you, Your Worship, I'm a little surprised that this has been raised in the public forum because it was under our understanding as staff that this was still confidential, but that's okay. We know about this particular matter. We had scheduled a confidential briefing with council after this to update you and get some direction on where we take this, because we have been presented with it in the past and council gave us direction then. Things have changed and so we were coming back to you to get further direction. I believe that with a 2-month consultation period for this particular strategy and plan, that we could concurrently, is that the word, at the same time, work on this particular proposal and opportunity, and kind of fold it in as we go. There may be other ideas that come forth as well as part of the submission process, and so we can kind of line this one up alongside those as well. So that would be my suggestion going forward, but Ross, you may want to add to that.
Yes, and through your worship, thank you. So the process and the statutory elements under the Reserves Act are quite different to, you know, the likes of the LTP under the Local Government Act. So we have you have a great deal of flexibility around the process that you might run, the timing of that, and ultimately when you may make your final decisions around the adoption of the strategy and the management plan. And you'll see we've been quite deliberate that we haven't specified when we anticipate this plan and strategy to be adopted. because, you know, it's quite a complex piece of work. While we've undertaken a really comprehensive engagement process, I think as you've alluded to, councillor Dow, there are always things and, you know, it's a dynamic space. So we didn't want to sort of foreclose beyond the 2-month minimum that the Reserves Act requires this to be out to the community. But I think as the Chief Executive's indicated, I think there's enough known about kind of the general direction and the opportunities that are in our community to continue working on that and bring these two together before, or for your consideration before any final decisions are made.
So we can put a new sports hub in this room. And as part of the draft investigator. So,
If we were going to include that particular thing in this,
Yeah.
draft for consultation, we would need to, forego the process that we're in now and spend quite a bit of time working it up, I imagine. So if that's the wish of council, then it's we're gonna have to park this and, add in exactly what the proposal is that you suggested.
Councillor, do you believe there's enough here to go on with the conversations just been had, that this could be adopted with the other embedded in?
yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, this is kind of new information and like, of all the work that they've done, you know, the community's got together, which is awesome.
So, and I think, you know,
Yeah,
Ross
if
is
they
right.
had that little bit extra information, then there is a parcel of land available.
So the
They may
adoption,
come to a different thing, so.
yeah, so the adoption of this could be a starting point, and with the other processes worked on during the journey.
Yeah,
Yep, okay.
Yeah, if that's in the resolution, that there's more to come. Like, if we're gonna fold something in, we actually need to say we're gonna fold something in over the next few
I
months.
think
no?
we're talking
know.
past each other, actually.
Okay.
I'm suggesting that we adopt this as it is. Exactly as it is now, and we take the 2 months that we're out for consultation to work up exactly what the proposal is that we've been, presented. And it
So-
comes in as a sort of a submission, if you like, as
Yeah.
part of the process. If you want us to rewrite this draft, we need to take it off the table and go back to the proposer and get it clear on what it is exactly that we're proposing, and then fold it in and come back to you. Yeah,
So if this gets adopted how it is and we're out for 2 months consultation, is it okay for elected members to mute the idea with people that there could be another option on the table? So it actually opens their eyes to, it could maybe not just limited to this, like there is a more aspirational idea being looked at. Because otherwise you're just gonna get submissions on this.
That's- yeah.
You're not gonna get submissions from people going, oh, we actually don't think, you're thinking big enough, because just on this, that's all the land we've got.
yeah, there's
am I getting my-
$25 million
yeah.
worth of projects in here.
Yeah, and
So
also,
I'm just a little bit like the whole, it's not ambitious enough, et cetera. It's not aspirational enough. I don't know. I think knowing what we know based on the green space we've got, I think $25 million worth of projects is pretty aspirational. But I acknowledge that we've had a new piece of information come in, so that opens up a brand new opportunity.
That 25 million could be well better spent, in my opinion, on a new space. And that would free up land in the community. Like, I mean, not that long ago, we were looking at putting a cultural, arts type hub somewhere in Ōtorohanga. And the only space we had to do that was knock down a few buildings in the main street. This would free up the whole island reserve, that sort of space. There's all these conversations, but all I'm saying is that we've seen that as a draft does that. Yeah, as long as it can be all talked about, then Are people just gonna be consulting on what's in the draft, or can they consult on anything?
I hear you.
Yeah, that's what I'm-
And this has
yeah.
come in kind of reasonably late in the piece for, as a public kind of
Yeah.
option. So I think I'm feeling like it might be cleaner to park this and include that,
That's what I'm gonna say, if we can park
or
this.
at
for a
least
month,
have some
at least
conversation.
See whether this
To
other.
see
option
whether
actually
we want
exists.
to include it. I would hate for us to go out with this and you feel like people haven't got an opportunity to comment on something else that's a real live, proposal. I don't know, Ross, do you have anything?
Look, you know, either or, I can see a way through with the process that we've got to work with under the Reserves Act for both. I'm just mindful that we're dealing with the known in terms of the reserves that we've identified through this process, and that's the requirement of the Reserves Act. So introducing something else at this stage where there is no certainty to the degree that we've got in terms of the reserves at the moment makes it a little challenging, but yeah, I guess what we're presented with is something that we're trying to acknowledge the opportunity and the potential and make it work within a process that gives the community something meaningful to provide feedback on. And we can do that with the document that we've got at the moment. I don't know how long it might take to work up a proposal and provide the same kind of certainty that we've got with what we've got at the moment. But we can, as the Chief Executive's indicated, I'm pretty confident that we can work together with this process. You do not have to adopt this. There may be things that, aside from this potential opportunity, there may be other things that come up in the process that give you cause to pause and give that consideration. So we have that flexibility under this statutory framework, which we don't have under other statutory frameworks.
Yeah, well, I'd just like the community to be able to consult on, all known things. It is known that, that we have got a bare block of land that we could help grow our town in the future. But, and it's, at the end of the day, obviously, it's all options on the table is kind of what I'm thinking. So, but how we go about it, that's fine, as long as everyone knows.
Okay, my suggestion, I'll go to you, Councillor Jeffries, would be we park this for a month to see if this other option is genuine. Because at this stage, this has come to us at an hour before a council meeting. And it's really unfortunate, Sandra, because I've looked at this document and you've done a wonderful piece of work here. And so it's no reflection on the work that's been done. So first off, don't ever take this personally, because that is really good. So Councillor Dow's come with a bit further information, which we might just investigate over the next 4 weeks to see whether it's genuine, and then hopefully we can bring it back to the council meeting next month. Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, I've just got 3 questions. Firstly, the strategy that we're looking at today, is that intended for parks and reserves only within the Ōtorohanga community boundary? Is that correct? Okay, so that ticks that one.
Yes, so can I just jump in there, councillor? So there's a parallel process that we've signalled in the two concept plans that have been adopted today, essentially a stock take and a review. So I anticipate that process will run through and will ultimately end up with a single overarching strategy for the whole district, with the various elements and reserve areas identified in it as a management plan.
Okay, well, that was sort of my next question, I guess, is when you looked at the rest of the rural and outlying areas as part of the strategy. Just picking up on what Councillor Dow's raised this morning, Is this area outside of the community boundary? Just,
Well, we can, rather than locations or everything, that is all, private at the moment. So we can have that discussion later on, but I think there'll be further information at the next meeting.
yeah, the point I'm trying to make there, Your Worship, if I may, is that if it's outside of the community boundary and this strategy is for inside the community boundary, is it appropriate then to address that issue as part of this strategy? Or is it part of the overall going forward one?
Well, as I understand it, the opportunity that councillor Dow has articulated, whether it's inside or outside this community, it impacts on a key reserve that's inside this community and within the scope of the work that's before you today. So.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. So is it as simple as, the recommendation is that this here is parked until the July council meeting?
Is that, so that the draft Ōtorohanga reserve strategy / reserve management plan come back to the July council meeting for consideration. So we don't need a second resolution around the looking into the. I know, but it's, if I'm looking at these minutes in 10 years' time, as an archivist, I'm thinking, oh, why? That's kind of odd. Is there some,
I think it would be prudent to have
like, even if we
some
call it an
recognition,
opportunity?
yeah, of the,
Yeah,
it's just come to.
Yeah, through you, your worship, I mean, is it possible to adopt this resolution as it is, but just have a amendment that we just incorporate this opportunity post adoption? Is that too simple?
Sorry, I'm thinking on my feet now as well. Thanks, councillor Thompson. for that.
I think, your worship, the concern that's been raised around going out with it or signing off on this document without really knowing what it is this opportunity is, I think presents a risk, and on reflection, I think we are, well, you are better, and my advice to you is you are better having regard to the discussion to leave this sitting on the table, look at what that proposal is, and if it does have traction, then define what that is in a way that provides some substance for people looking at that opportunity to form a view and share that view.
Just adjourn for 10 minutes. Councillor, so a resolution is sorted there. Well, welcome back, everybody. I'd like to reconvene the meeting, and I believe Tanya has a resolution for me for item 145, Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy Reserves Management Plan, approval of draft consultation. Tanya, back to you.
Kia ora through you, your worship. If council are of a mind, to explore the opportunity that councillor Dow has, talked about today, then, we believe that this could be accommodated with the following, resolution. That Ōtorohanga District Council confirm the draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy / Reserves Management Plan be presented for consideration at a future meeting of Ōtorohanga District Council. That's A. And B, that council requests the chief executive explore the opportunity raised by councillor Dow reporting back to the Ōtorohanga District Council meeting in July 2024 for consideration of potential inclusion in the draft Ōtorohanga Reserve Strategy / Reserves Management Plan before it is approved for community consultation. So just to be clear, two-step process. We believe we must do the investigation into this proposal and bring it back to you first. Then you either say yay or nay, and then we include it in the plan and it comes back to you for adoption for community consultation. So that would be our suggestion, and hopefully that's accommodated.
Thank you, Tanya.
I'll second it.
Okay,
Thank you, Tanya. Appreciate that,
thank you.
everyone.
So we have moved the resolutions that Tanya has just talked to then, moved councillor Dow, second councillor Christensen. Are we all in favour? Against? Carried. Again, Sandra, no reflection on the wonderful work that you've done. I'll keep on reiterating that, so they'll go back to people in 100 years' time when they read the the minutes of this meeting. They'll understand what's been moved, but also they'll see that we've thank you for the work you've done. Much
Thank you,
appreciated.
Your Worship.
Right, moving on to 146, application for temporary road closure, Hamilton Car Club Annual Rally Sprint, Hoddle Road, Ōtorohanga, page 379. Welcome, Paul. And Mark.
So, through you, Mr. Chairman, we had an application for a rally, Hoddle Road. It's an annual event. And I'm pleased it's a nice straightforward issue for you to consider and, take the, report as read.
Thank you, Paul. Any questions? Something we should all be familiar with, so no changes there. There is no questions. We have the staff recommendation in front of us. Is that the Ōtorohanga District Council approve the temporary road closure in accordance with section 319H and 342 and section 11. Why did I start reading this? Schedule 10 of the Local Government Act 1974 of Hoddle Road from intersection with Mahihi Road to intersection of Tauranga Valley Road and Tauranga Valley Road from intersection of Hoddle Road to intersection of Mahihi Road on Sunday, 18th August, 2024 from 9 AM to 5 PM, and B, authorised public notification of the approved road closure before the event as required by the Local Government Act 1974. Moved councillor Johnson, second councillor Prendergast. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you.
Moving on to item 147, response to letter of expectation from Te Mata Arawai in relation to Ōtorohanga Rural Water Scheme. Presume that's you, Mark. And that's on page 382.
Morning, Your Worship, councillors. You have in front of you today a report signalling a response to Te Mata Arawai on a letter of request on how we, as council, we're going to deal with the protozoa compliance of the Ōtorohanga Rural Water Scheme. I think if I can just take the report as read, but I just want to preface any discussion today, and that is just to say that this report is providing a formal response to a letter received from Te Mata Arawai.
it is not predetermining any outcome for the Ōtorohanga rural water schemes. So I think that's quite important to make, point to make. Any other process that takes place after today will obviously come back to council and further reports. But I suggest any reports we bring back would be upon the receipt of any response from Te Mata Arawai on the position council's taking today. So just wish to put that out the front. And I'll take any questions.
Awesome. Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the clarity around that. Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yes, just clause 2.3, I just wanted to state that I do not accept what the government is saying here, that funding or affordability changes are not a basis for failing to comply. I would suggest, sir, that it is a significant contributing factor as to why we're not doing some of the things that we. So I just wanted to make that point that I don't agree with them.
Thank you, councillor. Valid point. Reading through that, I thought exactly the same when I was reading it. I just didn't think to bring it up then, so thank you. It's absolutely the basis of not complying. When you're talking millions of dollars to bring your water schemes up to speed.
So I'd ask you, through you, Your Worship, would you like us to make that point in the letter that I'm going to write back to the regulator?
That would be absolutely on point.
Okay.
Thank you.
If there's any other points you want us to make, just let me know, as long as it's not like really irrelevant.
We're becoming quite an angry little council at the moment. Councillor Johnson.
Oh, just with regard to the wording on the recommendation, closing down the Ōtorohanga drinking water scheme. It's like the Ōtorohanga drinking water scheme is separate to the scheme. Is that the wording of the letter, or it just seems to be, it could be a bit taken as a bit alarming to some people. That's all. The Ōtorohanga drinking water scheme, is that something different to the Ōtorohanga water scheme?
Yes, so it's a good point. I think the word closing down is what I've taken as the wording in the Act. They use the actual term closing down. So we could obviously change that recommendation to maybe the drinking water component of the scheme, if that would make it more descriptive.
Thank you. Thank you, councillor Johnson. You've got that amendment in there, Kyle. Thank you. So we have a staff, no further questions, councillors? So we have a staff recommendation there in front of us, parts A and part B. Moved by councillor Johnson, seconded by councillor Hughes. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you, Mark. Moving on to item 148, capital projects report for the month ending 28th May 2024. Welcome, Robbie and Mark.
Thank you, Worship. Morning, councillors. This report provides an update on the progress of capital projects for the period ending 28th of May 2024. And if I may, I'll take the report as read and hand over for any questions.
Councillor Jeffries.
You even beat my pushing on the button there, Your Worship. Yeah, thank you for that.
Didn't even look up.
Yeah, on page 391 of the agenda, clause 4.11, the last sentence there, the RFI response has been submitted and the site meeting has been arranged. Would it be appropriate for the chairman of the community board to be involved in that site meeting? And also I wondered whether Councillor Williams and myself would be interested in attending as well. So, but I think probably if you could involve at least the chairman of the community board, that would be very helpful. And the second question was on 4.12. If there's a shortfall in funding, that 730,000 isn't sufficient to do the work, will the balance of the work be carried out by way of loan, or will we just not complete the project?
So I suppose in answer to your first question, this is an operational meeting with regional council to discuss a resource consent application. I'm not sure whether councillors, community board members would be present in that. I'd probably have to take some advice on that, but maybe I can come back to you on that, councillor. But it will be staff talking about the actual consent process. The second question around the funding, I would imagine when we see what the scope of work looks like partway through that project, that there'll be reports coming back to council for any further funding, which would then determine whether that's loan funding from reserves. I would imagine it would be loan funding depending on the scope of the work, but it's probably a bit early to know that.
Yeah, thanks, Mark. I guess the concern there would be that the project is still going to proceed irrespective of whether 730 is enough or not. That was the thrust of the question.
Yeah, and through you, your worship, that is your decision. We will come back to you and say, look, we've now got full, costings for this, it's bang on, or it's well outside of our delegations to approve such a large variation, or any variation. In terms of involvement, councillor, involvement or board involvement, I agree with Mark there, but maybe the question is more around how the communication about progress is received by the councillors and the board out there. It might be that once the meetings have been held, Mark can flick an email out and say, hey, we've been on site with the regional council, here's an update of progress. So you're kept informed of what's happening, the board and councils.
Yeah, look, I'd be very happy with that. I think given the interest that the chairman of the community board has shown in the Aotearoa wall in particular, I think it would be appropriate for him at least to get that communication and ensure if copy us in, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you, councillor. Any further questions? Here, councillor Hughes.
Thank you, Richard. Robbie, I noted in the Waipa water supply, the additional water storage, 4.6. Although it says in the end there that there's a post-contract performance evaluation about the lateness of the project, is there initial indications as to why that was the case? And it's, I note that it's no impact on the council itself, but it's been a while, isn't it? What was the reason behind that lateness?
Yeah, that was the tank supplier, basically a subcontractor to our main contractor. We weren't involved in that subcontract per se. I saw that sort of let the timing side of it down.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, thanks very much.
I just wanted to say fingers crossed that the sludge discharge thing works and you can get rid of 2 resource consents. That would be fantastic.
Thank you. One last question, the naming of tanks. Do we have a name for if there's any other tanks coming up? Malcolm and Meredith. Thank you. We have a resolution here in front of us, which is that the Ōtorohanga District Council received a report titled Capital Projects Report for the month ending 28th of May 2024, document number 762439 from Robbie Whiteman, managing projects. Third, Councillor Williams, second, Councillor Jeffries. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thanks, Robbie. Appreciate it. Yes, it would. We'll go on to here. Yeah, moving on to item 150, financial report for the month ending 31st May 2024. Over to you, Graham.
Right, thanks, your worship. So while Brendan was happy with me presenting the rates resolution, I'm going to hand over to him to present the financial report.
Yeah, I wondered when you duck for cover
from his sector. So yeah,
over to you, Brendan.
Yeah.
Thank you, your worship. So this is the report to the end of May, 31st of May. As you can see, the executive summary. So we've got a operating deficit to the end of May of 1.17 million. And capital expenditure and loan repayments are under budget by about $3.1 million. If we look at the statement of comprehensive revenue and expenses, so the 1.17 deficit, we're showing it's a 1.17 deficit under budget. So we had a budgeted deficit to the end of May of 2.4 million, and we're showing 1.2. Most of that is in the most of the reason why we're under the deficit that we were projecting is because we've got more income than we had in the budget. So it's 585k more income, and we're about 585k down on expenditure, which is quite interesting. They're both exactly the same number, but I think that's just a coincidence this year. In terms of what those are made up of, it's basically the same stuff that it's been for most of the year. The only additional one from last month is around the water by volume income. Just due to the timing of the May water billing was actually not processed and updated into our system until June. So that meant that the income budget was there, but the actual income wasn't recorded until June. On to the next page in our statement of financial position, or a balance sheet as they used to be called. Again, we're still in a healthy position there with a net working capital of $2.4 million. Most of that's around just cash in hand and the timing of payments and receivables. And then on the combined cost of service statements page, so overall operating revenue is about 2.6 million under budget. Most of that's around the other general sources, which is our internal recoveries. So again, that's down because timing of projects, timing of budgets, plus obviously we've been down on a few staff for the year, so a lot of that on charging of those staff has not happened as well because the staff don't exist. In terms of the operating expenditure, we're about 3.9 million under budget. That's spread right throughout the whole, all the different groups of activities. There's no one activity necessarily that's standing out in that respect. A lot of that is to do with things like the Kawhia Rural Town Concept Plans, where we had quite a large budget due to carryovers from previous years. And obviously we haven't spent all that yet because that money will be used for some of the projects coming out of those plans now. The LTP, just the timing of stuff on that, particularly audit fees and stuff, usually come through towards the end of the project. So we'll be getting a big bill from them shortly, I'm assuming. And then some of our road maintenance and asset maintenance as well. In terms of capital expenditure and loan repayments, we're under budget by 3.1 million. Most of that's in the capital and just relates to the timing of projects. I know a big part of that would be in the wastewater project because we did budget for the full year for the whole 4.9 million of the contract, and we know some of that's going to get carried over to next year. So that's a big part of that 3.1 million at this point. So any questions?
I was just going to add, Brendan. So yesterday, Brendan presented to the leadership team the results of meeting with all the budget managers as to where we're likely to end the financial year, which this reports to the end of May. So like the carryovers that we're likely to have, likely outspends, overspends, etc. So do you want to maybe just give a quick summary of that, Brendan? You don't have to go through, I guess, the whole detail, but just kind of, I guess, is to give council a kind of a flavour of where we're likely to be.
Yep. So we're looking at this point, and this is obviously without finalising end of year stuff. So we're talking high level figures. Probably looking at about 4.2 million of carryovers, of which about 900,000 is items that'll be work in progress at the end of the year. So most of that relates to the 2 stormwater consents we've got going for Ōtorohanga and Kawhia, the Aotea seawall consent, and then the Lethbridge Road bridge that we're doing, where the work will be actually done in the first couple of weeks of July. So we're carrying that over as work in progress. The remaining 3.3 million of that 1.7's and like roughly 1.7 is going to be in the wastewater project and about 950,000 in the or Kawhia rural concept plans. So yeah, that makes up the bulk of the rest of it. And then there's obviously just little rats and mice items as well that we'll bring to you. So what the next step is, once we finalize the end of year June stuff, we'll bring a report. It'll go through the leadership team first, make sure we've caught everything, and then we'll bring it to council probably in the September meeting for your adoption, and then we'll carry those budgets over, assuming that you approve it all.
Good. Thanks, Brendan. Councillor Jeffries.
Yes, thanks, Your Worship. Yes, Brendan, with the latest announcement from Waka Kotahi in terms of funding for next year, so
yep.
Is there, with the carryovers, is that going to affect the subsidy that we're going to attract in the 24-25 year on any of those carryovers?
So with roading, we're at the end of the 3-year period, so we can't actually carry anything over. With the Lethbridge Road Bridge, we have actually had approval to carry over that one specifically, and we're actually claiming in advance of the work being finalised. So we have a pretty good indication from Infomax what it's going to cost. We've already got the cost of actually building the bridge components and all that sort of stuff. We've already paid for that. So we're claiming the income in the end of June claim, but Waka Kotahi is aware of that and they've approved us to do that, even though the work is going to happen in the first couple of weeks of July. So because we're at the end of the period, there's nothing else we can really carry over from the roading point of view, because there's no subsidy available on any of it. And we start the new 3-year cycle with the NLTP on the 1st of July.
Cool, thanks, Brendan. Yeah, it's always when you see the finances at this time of year, it's all around the place. It's at least it's all around the place on a positive note.
Yes.
Looking forward to the next couple of months where we get a real clear picture of where the year's ended up on paper. So it'd be good. Yep. So thanks for leading this, Graham. And I don't blame you for handing over to Brendan. So Brendan, you can go and have a sleep now.
Cool. Just one other thing I will point out. Next month there won't be an end of June finance report, same as last year, because the end of June report in the middle of July will be nowhere near what it'll end up being in the annual report.
True. Yeah.
Decided not to do an end of June one because it might just confuse you all.
Thank you for that. All good. So we have a staff recommendation here that the Ōtorohanga District Council receive the report titled Financial Report for the month ending 31st May 2024, document number 76221 from Brendan O'Callaghan, Finance Manager. I'd like to move that. Seconded Councillor Jeffries. All in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Okay, we'll double back, councillors, to item 149, end of year 2023-24 report for the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs Community Employment Programme. Welcome L, Taylor and V. And Nadia.
Yeah, come on up. Get in here. Thank you, Your Worship. So look, I'm really pleased to have the team from the Ōtorohanga Employment Hub here to demonstrate all the good work that they've done in the last 12 months. This is the first, if you like, of a series of 12-month reports from external agencies that we fund. Normally it would happen in July, but it was such a light agenda, we thought we'd add this one in to today. Just a bit of a recap. I'm happy to take the report as read and then leave the floor to the team. But we were really lucky in this current year to receive a 2-year contract from MTFJ. Normally it has been a 1 year, and then by this time we're still waiting to hear if we've got funding for next year. So while we have confirmed funding for next year, it is again a significant drop in what we're used to, despite how hard those at the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs have been trying to maintain or increase that funding. Nonetheless, I know the team will do the best that they can with what we have and keep delivering for our community. So I will pass over. I'll pass over to Al, and you just need to push the right-hand side button.
Tēnā koutou katoa, Mayor Max and councillors, thank you. Pretty excited to be here and have the team here with us. We're going to show you a short video. I put my apologies out there in advance. We were one of 10 districts chosen across Aotearoa, New Zealand to tell our story, and we chose Kawhia and Kawhia oysters, and our twins, Joseph and Tay, that were successful in securing employment there. It is in its first iteration, so there are a little few bumps in it. So araha mai, so if we can go ahead and play that, enjoy. Yeah, apparently there's a slight delay.
Aim it over, maybe.
That one? Oh, there you go.
Beautiful view to see every day when you turn up at work. Yeah, no, not many people get this opportunity to have a view like this at their work. I grew up here in Kawhia, but I've never came on this FUB.
Finding a sustainable job here is really, really challenging. And for the employers here is to get rangatahi that are prepared to actually work full-time and are upskilled enough to be in employment is also another challenge. So if Mayor's Task Force can come into a small town like Kawhia and offer those opportunities, the support for the employer, but the upskilling of rangatahi is hugely important.
On my first day out here, when I got out here, I was pretty nervous actually. Yeah, I didn't know anything. But yeah, my boss walked me through it, me and my brother. We were going through it slowly, he was just showing us.
I really, that's half the reason I set it up, was to employ young people from Kawhia. Because there's not much else in Kawhia.
The Mayor's Task Force is really important for small communities. It means that they have skills, farming skills, life skills, structured skills to go to work, and it gives them a really good platform to move forward into their futures.
Why I like Mayor's Task Force jobs, because they they helped me get my license, and they also gave me what I needed, like clothes and all that stuff, and they also put us on courses. When I first met her, she put me and my brother in the gym. We had to work out to make the weight to be able to go on this outward bound trip. But I learned a lot about teamwork and how to communicate better with others, how to better myself really, keep myself fit, healthy sort of thing, yeah.
I'm passionate about keeping this farm going forever.
From the year 2000 through until now, we've got somewhere around 250 rangatahi into employment, sustainable employment that is.
The Mayor's Task Force for Jobs means for me selective, collective and awesomeness. Like, it's just so simple.
What I want is a sustainable funding stream that we can support all rangatahi across Aotearoa, New Zealand, into a possible future, a future that's possible for them, that may excel their dreams.
Well, having a job here is actually helps a lot, so I don't have to drive all the way out to town or anything. And yeah, having a job here is actually really cool. Oh, I love my job. It's a really cool one. And yeah, not many other people get to have a job like this. But yeah, I love it.
Thank you. I'd just like to add that Joseph and Tay have been at Kawhia Oysters now for over 12 months. They've continued to upskill with horses through aquaculture. And recently, last weekend, Jan and Alan won the New Zealand Award for the most tastiest oyster in New Zealand. So yeah. So thank you. Today was just really, as Nadia said, taking my report as read, but I just wanted to share two more stories with you. Where am I pointing? Okay. So I'd like to talk about Mystique. This is her testimonial to the work that we do. I met Mystique last year in July at the college. We work with Outward Bound to send rangatahi aged 16 to 18 through to the whakatipu program. The whakatipu program has been designed by Outward Bound to create a program that is employment focused, working with soft skills, and also preparing rangatahi as they move into that teamwork, problem solving, everything that they need once they get into a role. When they come back from Outward Bound, we continue to work with them, finding out where they want to go, what they want to do. Mystique didn't want to go to university, she wanted to stay in Ōtorohanga. Now, she's a coast girl like me, so she's out near Ōtorohanga. And when she left college, unfortunately, she was only on her learner's license. So we needed to look at employment that would be able to, would set her up for success, that she would be able to get through day in, day out, not having to be reliant on a vehicle. We'd been working with Waitomo Chalets probably for about 2 years, and I spoke to them about the opportunity of maybe taking her to rangatahi from the college to work there, and that there was a challenge around accommodation. They were hugely generous and said, yep, let's make it a live-in position for housekeeping, and we can look at other roles that they can be exposed to during that time. And then it changed ownership. Luckily, the new owners that came on board said, yep, we'll honour that. That's fantastic. To date, before that, we worked with Dress for Success in Hamilton. We took the girls through to Hamilton and had them go through the Dress for Success process for interviewing clothing. And they went for the role, both of them, and were offered the role. The cool thing was when I said to Mystique, hey, it's coming to the end of term, end of year 13. Would you like to have the summer off and then maybe come back and start in January? She said, no, I want to start work. So she finished school on the Friday and they moved out to Waitomo Chalets on the Monday and they started employment on the Wednesday. So Mystique has been there now for 8 months. And we've been able to work with her, and she was received her restricted license in August. So great to get her moving forward. Then the lovely thing happened in February. She was asked to be part of the Tuia program through Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, which is an intergenerational program mentored by Mayor Max, and Mystique will be part of a 12-month program for leadership. So we're really excited to have her being a part of that. So we look forward to seeing where the next part of her journey is. We stay in touch with her on a monthly basis. And yeah, so that's Mystique's story. I've got one more to share with you. Oh, that did that. Someone's trying to. Oh, thank you. I want to talk about Seth. So I met Seth when he was 15, which probably was about a year ago. He wanted to leave school. Unfortunately, he couldn't exit school because of with MOE. They want you to stay there a bit longer. So fast forward a year, he came back to me and he'd been dairying, and he said, I don't know what I want to do. I want to do something different now. So we did career coaching, and he came up with his top 3 jobs. At the time when we met him, he had no license. So within 2 weeks of meeting him, he got his learner's license. And more recently, he's got his restricted. With the recession, it's been a little bit tough sometimes, and when you're 16 and you've no license or only a learner's license, it's a little bit hard to find work locally sometimes. So he knew where he wanted to be, and we put his name forward to a couple of employers, but there wasn't anything happening. So in the interim, he worked at the Ōtorohanga Museum for work experience while they were doing their refurbishing. And he was very much loved down there. And then as life has it, he got a job offer and was shortlisted for the other job at the same time. And that was late February. It was really humbling to watch him work through the process, as one was very outdoors and one was very indoors, which one he chose and why. But he is now 3 months into his apprenticeship with the girls in Te Awamutu. So that's Seth's story. Lovely, thank you. So firstly, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to the Ōtorohanga District Council thank you to MTFJ, thank you for Ministry of Social Development for the funding. I would also like to thank all of the employers who have trusted us to place people in their businesses and add to their capability. And I would like to thank everybody that's walked through our door and trusted us to put them in the right place. Very humbling and very rewarding. Excuse me. And to be a part of this community, I think that the Ōtorohanga community, this district, is just something incredibly special, where if you're somebody that needs a hand up, there's a hand coming down to help you. So I'm very proud to be part of this community. And then in closing, tomorrow we say goodbye to Bea. She's been with us for almost 18 months and Bea's moving on to new adventures. So I'd like to thank her for her support. There's many of our clients out there that know when she texts them that they absolutely need to answer that text. So she's been a key component in our 94% retention rate when it comes to placing out on rangatahi across the district. So thank you, Bea. And that's it. Any questions?
Hey, Elle, thank you. And thank you, Bea, for your contribution here. It's been huge. That's one of the more challenging parts of my role, is to ensure that we've got sustainable funding going forward. And as you mentioned earlier, Nadia, with the drop in funding this year, has made it really, really challenging, to retain staff across the country, because it's a very similar challenge to what we had when we were just getting single year funding. So still a lot of work to do in that space, and it's a continual battle to work with MSD, but they're an organisation that's in a bit of trouble at the moment as well, with restructuring, with lack of funding going through there. But what I will say, of all the programs that MSD has, Mayor's Task Force for Jobs, the Community Employment Program, is probably is actually the most successful program. And the return on investment for every dollar invested, there's a $5.61 return on that dollar. So there's no other programs within MSD that can offer that sort of return. So at times when we see that there's a lot of social investment in our rangatahi to get them to where they are, that is what makes this program so successful, which other programs across the country can't meet. It's one thing putting sometimes challenging youth into employment, but unless they've got the support network around them, it's not going to work. And probably on a finishing note for me, the great thing about our employment hub in Ōtorohanga is, again, back to your retention rate of employment, the support of the community, and the fact that we do have one of the more successful programs across the country, which is pretty amazing when you see the results coming out of a small community. So that is also aided by not churning staff, which is a big problem we have, because it takes, if you lose a leader in this role, you've got a good 6 months to get back up to speed again, if you ever do. So there's a lot of work still to do, but when you think about, since the inception of the program, over 6,000 rangatahi across New Zealand put into jobs, which probably wouldn't have otherwise been there, it's pretty satisfying. So thank you for the mahi you guys, you girls have done. Long may it continue, and you fight the battle at your end and I'll fight it at mine. So thank you. So any questions, councillors? Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, just with regards to the MSD reduction funding, how was that actually affecting the outlook or operation?
So as we step into 1st of July 2024, we will experience a 60,000 drop in funding, 60,000 from 325.
With the drop in funding, councillor, there's the drop of expected outcomes as well. So it's just hard. That's all. It's simple as that. It's hard, and again, we've just got to keep on working at a national level. Any further questions? Councillor Dan.
Just one, well, you put in space to know, but is there plenty of vacancies out there? Like, it seems I'm getting lots of people ringing up wanting jobs. So is that a bit of a challenge at the moment in the times we're at?
We've seen a drop in roles available probably since we didn't see the uptake in roles from about February this year. And there's a job report out showing that there are fewer vacancies. What we've found locally is that if an employer is having a staff member leave, they're not placing them until such time as there's an uptake in that.
Challenging going forward.
Thank you. Thank you. We have a staff recommendation here that the Ōtorohanga District Council receive the report end of year 2023-24 report from the Mayor's Task Force for Jobs Community Employment Program, document number 761729 from Nadia Gara, Group Manager Strategy and Community. I'd like to move that. Seconded, Councillor Prendergast. On favour? Against? Thank you for taking the time to come and present to us. We'll see you again soon. Thank you. Councillors, item 151, Better Off Funding Update. Page 401. Tito. Yeah. Charlie running for you.
Always.
Welcome.
Hope it goes a little bit better than last time. Morena tātou. This Better Off Funding report is to provide you with an update of the projects supported. The report remains the same as May 2024, so last meeting. The only changes are that we have been paid for claim 1 and claim 2 is now in for 440,000. Since the last meeting, staff have met and let our stakeholders and project leads know where we stand. We met with the DIA to advise our position going forward and that we would continue with the project as they are.
That's in relation to the letter where they asked us to recommend.
What's our time this morning? No, this afternoon. This morning, we received apologies from the college. They're unable to attend now due to illness. So we'll put something else in place to have a bit of feedback from them next time. Other than that, I'm happy to take the rest of the report as read and happy to take any questions or none.
Thank you. Yeah, look, it's good to see all the projects underway, and yeah, it's obviously still got work to do in terms of the college have taken up what 600,000 of the 1.6 million. So yeah, looking forward to seeing the projects at the end. I'll be looking forward to having them present to us and see how it's affected the education of the students here as well. Councillor Williams.
Thank you, Bishop. The meeting with the DIA. What was the feeling in the room? Were they genuinely expecting you to say, yeah, have it back, or genuinely not surprised that you're saying, no, we're staying the course?
Through you, your worship. So I attended that meeting and actually I was pleasantly surprised at the openness and the response to us saying, actually, we've talked to some of our project leads, we've discussed it with council and got direction, and we want to continue to proceed with our project. So they had mixed meetings with council. Some were redirecting some of their funding directly into Three Waters projects. And others were really firm on the fact that they'd consulted with their community and they wanted to keep the integrity of that process. So yeah, it was a good meeting.
Any further questions, councillors? If not, we have the staff recommendation that the Ōtorohanga District Council receive the report Better Off Fund Update June 2024, document number 762417 from Secretary Montgomery, Community Program Coordinator. Move Councillor Jeffrey, second Councillor Hughes, all in favour? Against, carried. Thank you. And now we're on to other business, which is councillor updates. We'll start with, to the left of me, Councillor Williams.
you want me to come back to you?
Much the same as you, you wish what some things. 22nd of May, Trust Waikato. Yeah, it was a bit of an onslaught of people, but it sounds like they had a good response in the district. Zone 2 on the 24th of May, where we got the bombshell about the Maori wards and the length of time that we had to make a submission. Week of 27th, obviously, with the hearings and deliberations. I went and listened into the Arcona webinar on climate change, and then one through civil defence on what the geek, about the who's who in the zoo, from Nima down in the vaults, down in the bunker down in Wellington, to who operates when we have our own group emergency coordination centres open. Brad Olson, the first part of it, and I've heard more than once, many times since this, survived to 25, which yeah, hopefully we all will, but it's a bit discouraging that everyone's talking the same talk. The energy efficiency, thank you for facilitating that stuff. It was really interesting. Yesterday I had the joint committee for the Waikato Civil Defence Emergency Management. And there was quite a good presentation there, which hopefully we can share at some stage, on community hubs. And it sounds like it's an initiative, well, it's an initiative that Waikato are taking on in addition to what they're already doing. There are some areas that use it extensively. Wellington was the one in particular. And then the Chief Executive's KPI meeting yesterday as well. And tomorrow we're taking over from His Worship.
Yes. Councillor Christensen.
No, I've got nothing to add.
Councillor Dow.
I've done a little bit. One of the things actually, I've been on that regional transport committee, so they've been doing a long-term plan too. And that got, as you can imagine, being a transport infrastructural type committee, it was very, very severely affected by the government. All the original plans we kind of had, and then the new ship and all that sort of thing they bring out. Yeah, so the plan had to be rehashed, re-talked about, but obviously they've got pretty good staff, you know, a lot of work for them. But one of the interesting things, I mean, the other day, I actually didn't go because I couldn't make it for the health, but I zoomed in. The Waka Kotahi guy said how they're going to be, they're out now just doing consultation with people. They're going to have to do a lot of work on State Highway 1. So they're talking about closing the whole road down for a period of time, State Highway 1, because, and then basically I'll divert traffic through State Highway 3 and State Highway 4. He said at the meeting that if they shut the road down, it'll be about $13 million in savings for road cone, basically traffic management. And also 5 years work they'll be able to do in 2 years. So it's a massive, but so yeah, so basically we might see a lot of truck transport coming through Ōtorohanga for that reason. So hopefully we can get our roads put back on the heavy vehicle productivity list again, so we don't have to get special permits for every truck that goes through town. But anyway, but yeah, that was kind of interesting. That's what they're looking towards now, is actually just shutting roads down, doing the work.
Did that indicate what sort of time frame we're looking at? Say in the next 10 years, 2 years?
Coming year, they're around talking to different districts that are affected. You know, yes, it sounds like it's in the next build system. Doing a lot of work on resilience. You know.
Thank you. Councillor Hughes.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Actually, through a combination of injury, illness, and work commitments, I actually haven't been up to too much in the last month. I was quite looking forward to go and seeing the Brad Olson thing, but it's too cool for that. Same with the Risk and Assurance Committee, which was like one meeting I usually look forward to every quarter, but unfortunately couldn't make that either. So, but yeah, other than that,
Thank you. Councillor Jeffries.
Thanks, your worship. Yeah, other than the round of LTP hearings and concept plans and bits and pieces, there was the Kapiti Community Board meeting on the 6th of June. And the Risk and Assurance meeting on the 12th of June. We had a housing committee meeting on the 17th of June. And that was really just to tidy up the terms of reference and the draft plan, which will be the subject of a report to council in July, I understand. So you guys will get that. And that'll bring everybody up to date as to where the housing committee is at. And last weekend I attended the annual meeting of the Kapiti Sports Club, and the rebuild of the sports club is still on the table, and it was very good to hear that we have an independent project manager now running that process, so I think probably that was pretty widely accepted, and we thank the person involved for indicating his acceptance of that role. But other than that, yeah, there was they were a very optimistic group, and they're hoping to get the rebuild underway, within the next few months. So you watch this space. Thank you.
That's comforting news with an independent project manager. Thank you. Councillor Johnson.
Yeah, I too haven't done much over the last month, but just did attend the 100-year railway station celebration. What an awesome day for the town that was. It was pretty great to see so many people out and stalls, etc. And as a spin-off from that, our District Club, we went to the museum afterwards and sort of committed to them to help with. They've got lots of things going on there, and yeah, it's amazing the change that's gone on there. So it's our District Club is a bit like herding cats, but we have got a commitment to help them in some ways. We'll see how it goes. In addition, we have at BD Home, we're fully committed to putting hospital level care in now. So we've those projects will be going over the next 6 months. Just a improved nurses station, and 2 rooms for starters, having the crane things, yes, lifting things, hoists. Yes, that's right. So they need a bit of strengthening in the ceilings for that, and doors widened, and bathrooms, made more accessible for hospital level care. So, which will mean that as people get more sick, they don't have to leave town for care; they can remain in town. So that's the idea there. And also, it's unfortunately it's a growing market, so we need to be able to cater for that. And just lastly, we have set a date for the Piston Festival next year, which will be the 8th of February. So, so you can write that in your diaries. That's me.
Happy travels, councillor.
Oh yes, I drop in. I need to request a leave of absence for the next meeting.
Councillor Prendergast.
So I attended the Mangatutu Reserve meeting on the 23rd of the 5th, and it was really nice to be involved with something that everyone went away really happy with the outcome. There's the usual hearings meetings, the 27th to the 28th. Then on to the 11th of the 6th, the North King Country Development Trust meeting, plus Brad Olsen and Sovereign Citizens, which I also found very interesting. 12th was Risk and Assurance, and followed by the campground update. Then the 17th was the Energy Efficiency Initiative, which I think is great, and it was really nice wearing my other hat to hear that in action. And then, of course, today's meeting.
Thank you. Councillor Willison.
Been my usual busy self, not. Thank the mayor and the C for taking myself and councillor Tamaki down to Wellington to sit before committee. And you had the unmistakable feeling that you were just going through the motion. So thank you for that privilege. And also a part of the closing ceremony for the hostel, which is both sad and heartening at the same time. Lots of fond memories of people who have gone through the place. We calculated there's probably been just under 2,000 students that the place has catered to over the last 49 years. If they'd have closed it at the end of this year, would have made 50 years. I think the school did a great job. Beautiful meal to acknowledge all those families and children who come through the hostel and ex-staff. We actually had John Paitoi returned, who was the third manager of the hostel, and he reminded everybody that the very first managers were sort of fallen off the radar. They had it for about 6 months before they handed it off the two songs. So yeah, it was again sad but lovely occasion. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Tamaki.
Kia ora, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, cool. Hello,
Well-
everyone. Sorry I couldn't be there. I would have been coughing over you all. So yep, I just wanted to mihi to the team that went to Wellington to speak to the Māori wards. Experience is one word I'm using. So it was a very enlightening, but also disheartening. JMA hui with Tēnā Hene Henry. Some good kōrero going on in that space. Looking forward to opening up the Hauora Hub in Kawhia on the 8th of July. So if you're not doing anything, Haramaiki Kawhia. CE hui yesterday. Also in that JMA space, looking at getting some parameters up around taonga that are coming into Kawhia, whether they're falling down in the bush of Rākau, different taonga being washed up onto the beach. So getting some framework for mana whenua to have some parameters around that. Kia whawhai tonu mātou movie, very, very cool. And then attended a wānanga with Te Māori o Waiwaia with Niwa around our freshwater here in Ōtorohanga. So yeah, that's all from me. Kia ora.
Got to get well. Right, we're moving on to resolutions register. Tanya.
Yep, through your worship, we are recommending that all of those resolutions be taken off the register. There's an update there on each one. Just happy to take any pathway. Thank you.
We have the recommendation that Ōtorohanga District Council confirm the removal of resolutions 206, 207, 208, 209 from the register. I'll move that. Second, Councillor Dow, all in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. Councillor Willison, closing karakia, please.
Kia ora tātou. Kia ora tātou e te atu wharau, e ni nā mātou mai ki mui hau e ko te tuki katoa ngā kaupapa kei mori a tātou nō reira ko wāte e tia mai mātou tuki nātu mātou kia ki mō mātou e kāia, e kia no rā ki te au mara. Tukarā nea mātou e ni nō i mātou te tāutami i kura te āki, ki amini.
Thank you, Councillor. Just in closing, thank you to all the mahi that has gone on to get these plans signed off today. It's huge. Unfortunately, there is no rest for staff because we're about to enter council mark. So, yeah, just really, really admirable the amount of work that's gone on.
Yeah, so we've got workshops. Yeah, so we've got an open workshop on motorhome friendly town / our traffic bylaw amendment, and then we will give you a closed briefing on the opportunity around the piece of land, and then monthly discussion.
Thank you, Tanya. I'll declare the meeting closed.